Hey, how you doing? I'm Dan Ferris.
I'm Michael Williamson.
And we're coming to you from Complete Media Inc., the finest little agency on the prairie. We've talked in past episodes. These are episodes, right?
Episodes? Let's call them episodes. I'm going to have an episode.
It's an episodic experience. We're just waiting for a network to sign us on. We have talked about defining your target market for your product, for your business, for your service, whatever that may be. We want to kind of rake that in a little bit, define a little more, and turn it internally inside your business, having to do with staff, et cetera, et cetera.
Absolutely. And we find that it's quite common when we deal with business owners and managers that there's a disconnect within their organization. They have a vision and they have an understanding of who they're trying to market to, but they somehow fail to share that with their employees, and not just share it with them, but constantly do things to remind them of that as they go about their business.
So let's say at this point you have very strategically defined your demographic, your target, your perfect client. Now take the time and share that with everyone on staff, because here's the thing, everybody knows somebody somewhere. When your people are outside of work, they're doing commerce. They're going to the bank, they're going to the barber, they're going to the grocery store, they're going to restaurants, whatever the case may be. They are also ambassadors for your business. So they should have a very clear-cut understanding of who the perfect candidate or perfect prospect is for your business as well.
Yeah, and it's not so much that they are tasked with the idea of once you're out on your own and you're out in public that you have to target or identify those people and then go sell the company or the business, because unless they were brought on as a salesperson or a marketing person, then that's not their job. However, I think the point is that when they do recognize in those social situations, in a conversation that they're having with someone, and inevitably we all end up, when we first meet, what do you do?
Oh, sure.
What do you do for a living? So it's nice that they can say something more than, well, I'm an auto mechanic, or I work at a restaurant, or we make things. And it means so much more to the employee, to the company, and to that prospective client if they can speak intelligently and genuinely about where they work and who they do their best work for. And it's just about having a passion about what you do, and that's what sharing that from the top down creates, is a passion and an appreciation. You have skin in the game, as they like to say.
Yeah, and getting back to just a few moments ago when you mentioned that disconnect, we've been working with a window door company for a number of years now, and about the second year into it, the owner wanted to revamp the apparel, the uniform, if you will, and we thought that was a splendid idea too. And he started ordering on behalf of his staff, and when he got to his lead installer, we'll call him Larry, mainly because that really is his name, he said, and Larry likes to wear tank tops.
Larry.
And we went, whoa, hang on. So Larry's function is what now? And he said, well, he's our lead installer. I said, meaning what exactly? Well, he goes into clients' homes and orchestrates the install. I said, and he's wearing a tank top. Yeah. And I said, no, not anymore, he isn't.
Not after the age of 12.
So we kind of got into it a little bit because he wasn't quite understanding. Now, here's the thing. Their best customer is a pretty high income, let's just call them a fairly well-to-do soccer mom. Let's put it that way. And Larry's climbing around inside their homes wearing a tank top. That is a disconnect.
Not unless the soccer mom put on a tank top, and then
different story.
Yeah, a whole different story. But we digress.
The light bulb went off, and our client went, you know what? That makes perfect sense. But that's part of that internal culture we're talking about, making those connections and drawing that picture, and know that when your people are out and about, regardless, that they just have a really clear-cut idea of what your company truly is about and who you serve best.
Well, kind of what you described is almost a case of desensitivation. What's the word? Desensitized?
That's what it is now.
So what I'm talking about is within the culture of a company, especially people that have been there a long time, they develop not only their own language and lingo and perceptions, they forget how the rest of the world perceives them and how they operate, hence the tank top syndrome.
Sure.
And we deal with different industries all the time. They talk in terms of catchphrases and acronyms and things that they just assume the rest of us know what they're talking about. We have to remind people, you have to talk to people like they have no idea what you do and where you are and what you offer, and you back them up and they go. And it's the same thing as dealing with that ideal target audience. Is once you identify them, you have to recognize that you have to speak to them and interact with them on their level. And if they're not hanging out in tank tops, then you're not hanging out in tank tops.
Yeah, essentially step out of your world and into theirs, bringing your best game, of course. In fact, we just realized this morning that's how timely this is. Now, we certainly have a fairly clear cut of the prospect, the industries, et cetera, that we tend to work best with. We can tend to get together and really have a true long-term win-win relationship with them. And it was brought to my attention, I believe, 8:03 a.m. Central Time this morning when Michael crashed my office and said, hey, going down the line here in the future would probably be a good idea if we did not sign on with...
I didn't know where you were going. I didn't know where you were going.
With businesses owned by husband and wife teams who are in the middle of an ugly divorce. And you know what?
I like to start every day with a valid point.
How I'm going to actually pursue that line of questioning with prospects is yet to be seen, but it's certainly something for us to keep in mind.
But we were developing our target audience and refining it. That's basically what we were doing, and people have to have those conversations every day because as culture changes, as businesses change, everything's ebbs and flows, and it can't just be you started a business 20 years ago and it's a hardware store and you say, you know what, these are the people that we've got into business to help serve. And 20 years later, you've not touched on the conversation again. And before you know it, they're going somewhere else because you've lost touch. And it's not enough that you're having turnover in employees and maybe they're injecting some new thought and perspective. It's that you have to actively seek it. You have to get out in the community. You have to inject that enthusiasm to your staff to say, have that conversation on a regular basis. Who are we best serving today? Who are our best customers? We like to boil that down to, in our initial conversations with our clients, top 10%. It doesn't mean you only serve a 10% of that segment population, but we like to zero in on the top 10%, and everything else is gravy or icing, whatever euphemism you want to use.
Yeah, and how can you internally form your culture with your crew, your staff, your business to give that top 10% your best revenue generators, to give them the experience they're expecting? What do they see? What do they hear? What's that overall experience, either over the phone or when they're in or when your people are out there, however, your revenue streams work. And it's just a great idea to get everybody together and go, look, we have defined our target market. Here it is. Here is what this individual looks like. And this is how we should conduct ourselves to super serve that particular segment of the population.
And if it works, you should go out and get a used mannequin and kind of model that mannequin as that target audience. Dress it up, put a pretty face on it, put it in the corner.
Have a naming contest for prizes.
Have a naming contest, interact with it. Make it your friend. That's your target audience. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, and buckle it into the car, and you can use that express lane on the freeway on the way
we have
home.
A lot of express lanes in South Dakota. But again, the thing about bringing the staff in on board with all this is it's a sense of empowerment. It's not just feeling like you're part of the team. It's empowerment because when they're answering the phone, when they're interacting with that new customer that comes in, if they're privy to who that top 10% is, that target demographic is, then they feel as though it's their privilege, it's their responsibility even to maybe recognize that they're not the ideal client, and not to make that decision right then and there, but to share that with management and ownership to say, you weren't here, so-and-so came in, or I ran into so-and-so, and I just want to bring these things to your attention. And they can do it intelligently because you've educated them, because you share with them on an ongoing basis of who you're trying to connect with.
Yeah, and it makes it a lot easier to connect realistically with that perfect client going down the road. So yeah, have the conversation, and that's just a little more on how to create target market profile and what to be done internally with that.
And if you need any help, obviously we're very experienced in identifying at least the target audience that you probably don't want to pursue.
And we know a guy who knows a guy who can get you a deal on a mannequin. So there you go. I'm Dan Ferris.
I'm Michael Williamson
from Complete Media Inc. See ya.